Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Friedman Adventures. Our podcast today is being brought to you here at 22nd Street Landing. Before we get started, I do want to remind you all that you can now go to www.friedmanadventures.com, and there you can figure out how to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere else. Also want to mention a new sponsor that just came on board with us, Opsin Fluorocarbon. Greg just came by with donuts and coffee and a lot of nice fluorocarbon. We'll be doing some tests on that and letting you know what we think, but really happy he's here. All right, put your safety belt on, everybody, because today we've got the one, the only, Dave Hansen. Dave, good to see you, bro.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning. Thanks for having me here. I was so excited when I found out you were doing this and you were back in the biz. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to get on with you. I couldn't wait to be with you because I owe a lot of, I'm sorry, we're jumping ahead, but I owe a lot of my success to you. So we'll get going here in a minute, but
Flattery
I love you.
will get you everywhere. I love you, man. It's been at least 4 years since I've seen anybody because I was in China.
Right.
But you and I go back a long
ways,
right?
Folks. I'm going to pull some covers down on you today and let some people know the inside Philip Friedman, man.
But I'm in trouble.
You know, my dad and I were talking about you yesterday. You helped the industry out tremendously. People don't understand what you did for our industry because we didn't have a voice. We really, honestly, you know, it's you and Pete Gray and still are our voice.
And you'll be with Pete tomorrow. This is going to be out of sync because this will be a week old, but you're going to be on Let's Talk Hookup. And that radio show has been in the industry for a long time.
30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm on there every Sunday morning giving a report for what's going on in Southern California. I've been a part of Pete's show for a long time, but I was with you on 976 for a long time also. So we got a lot to talk about today. I'm super excited to be here, and thanks for letting me be a part of this show.
There's still a bunch of people out there that don't realize I started 976, and that's why Steve came up with a brilliant idea. Boy, he's munching down those donuts, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
he came up with Patrick.
I didn't eat any, Kelly.
Patrick and Philip are going to interview me and go into that, but yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, and that's how we got together.
Absolutely, you were the voice, and I mean, We'll jump around a lot today while we're talking. I'm usually the guy that interviews people nowadays, but today I'm getting interviewed, and I'm excited about it because there's a lot of members of my website, and there's a lot of people that watch me Facebook. I do a Facebook Live show every day at noon. We've been doing it for 10 months now. Every single day at noon, you can see me live on Facebook. You can see me live on Instagram at noon every day. And a lot of the stuff that I do, I learned from listening to you back in the day, back in the was it 87?
Started in 85. You're close.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we started in 1985.
All right. Well, I really didn't know what the hell was going on in the world until 87 when I got sober.
Oh, well, hey.
There was a lot.
It took me a little longer to get sober, but I finally made it. So, I'm coming up on 10 years in March.
Congratulations.
So. You got what, 30?
March 1st will be 32 years. 32 years,
we're not
gang.
cussing anymore, yes.
No, I don't cuss.
All right, but March 14th for me, so we got a March birthday,
we're right
man.
in there.
Freaking awesome.
Gang, it's amazing. My life it's changed because I'm an advocate of sobriety. I work a lot with a lot of people, and I'm heavily into the AA program, and it has absolutely changed my life. And we'll delve into that a lot too because this industry, back in those days, every hero that I had, and I'm not going to name any names, but all my heroes
were drunks,
drug addicts, and alcoholics.
Yeah, nice guys. The kind of people you want to bring home to meet your family.
Oh my God, they were my heroes. They were the best. I wanted to be with them all the time, and I thought, you want to be the best? You want to be the best captain in the world? You grab a can of Coors and smoke a cigarette, and the rest just comes along with the program. So I started smoking cigarettes when I was 12, and started drinking when I was 13, and I became the very best little drug addict alcoholic you could possibly be. By the time I was 21, I was well on my way to being the best captain on the coast as far as that goes.
I know, man. It's just brutal. When you're in that and when you get out of it finally and you look back, you go, why would I poison myself and ruin relationships and ruin blah, 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 all the crap that comes along with being a drunk. And the key here is, and I know you'll preach this too, if you're one of those people, there's hope. You can change your freaking life.
Absolutely. Well, and I know we're doing a fishing podcast, and I understand
we'll
that.
get to fishing,
but this is part of the deal. And what I didn't understand back in the day, and I'm just gonna do my thing right now, is I didn't even know that I had a choice. I just thought that that was what it was. Yeah. That's just what you did. It was since I was a little kid. That's what gang, I've been in this sport fishing, and I know a lot of people, oh, Hansen just came along. Listen, I was born in this thing. My father's been doing this since 1947 for a living.
Yeah.
My dad's
I saw your dad the other day, by the way, when I went to see your sister. We did a veteran's trip out of the land.
He's the last living legend.
Yeah.
Guys like Frank Lepresti started out in the business working for my dad out on the reel fun off the San Clemente Pier. I've been in this business for a long time. But, man, when I was little, fishing was phenomenal. The captains were epic. They were such good guys. But, you know, it was all hand in hand in hand. Everything was just flowing back then. And I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm just telling you what my life was like. And I'm not condemning anyone. But when I looked up when I was 27 and I was like, oh, my God, do I want to be 30 and still – I'm never going to leave the fishing industry. That's my passion.
In your blood.
Like I listened to Durr the other day with you.
Yeah.
I'm just like Tom. And I've known Durr since I was a little kid. If it's not blowing, we're trying to figure out where we can fish. I'm 60 years old, and all I want to do is go fishing. Me and Kelly, we go fishing all the time in Cabo.
It doesn't matter what's biting, right?
They don't even have to be biting. I just want to be out there with my line in the water because you never know what might bite.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm jumping all around. I got more energy than anybody can imagine. But my passion's fishing. And then I was lucky enough to team up with you a long time ago. And then I was able to start to teach people how to fish. And the really strange thing about this, gang, is this business that I created, Your Saltwater Guide. I have a website called YourSaltwaterGuide.com, and we have over 360 instructional videos on how to fish. And I don't mean just how to fish in Southern California, just basically how to fish. And then I 28 years ago, Danny Jackson and I, and Don Brockman, and Joe Berrien. We went out and made a series of spots videos, you know. And
I remember that.
We did the spots videos 28 years ago, and now I put it on a digital format, and it's available to you on my website, and you can have access to over 1,000 spots. Now, these are not just – Mark Wish is my buddy. He's my pal. He wrote a book with the numbers in it, and
all these sport fishing guys wanted to kill him, by the way.
Right. And I want to be the most hated person in the industry. Yeah. I've always enjoyed that, being the guy that's the most hated. You know that. And then Billy Kay came along, and now he's taken all my hate, all Mark Wish's hate, and he owns all the hate. It's pissing me off. I want that hate back, Billy.
We'll see if we can arrange that. We'll see if we can
give
do
me
that
back
here
my
on
hate.
this show.
But what I do that's different than all the other is I explain to you how to fish each and every individual spot. So with over 1,000 spots, I explained to you how to. So we're, like I said, we're jumping all over, but that's my website, YourSaltwaterGuide.com. But I really, really love teaching people the passion that I have, because most people today, there's more private boaters now than there ever was. When we grew up fishing, there was no private boats. You very rarely saw a private boat out on the water. It was like sport fishermen owned the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's how it was back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and about the middle of the 90s. That's when the switch started to go, and all the private boaters. But we used to see the private boaters follow us around, and we used to call them names and stuff. But I thought about it. I had an epiphany about 18 or 20 years ago. It's been a long time. I tried to think about it last night, and I came up with the idea to be your saltwater guide and be your private guide and go with you on your private boat and take the sport fishing mentality and the whole thing, and then go with you on your boat and teach you how to act when you're out on the water.
That's what I was going to ask you, because, okay, I mean, I know you're teaching people how to catch fish, how to anchor, how to find structure. But it sounds like you're also teaching etiquette. You had
Oh
this
my gosh.
road to Damascus conversion and decided, hey, I need, because
Someone needs
nothing makes these guys more angry. We're not cussing on the show anymore, even that word. Nothing makes, and when I'm pointing out at the fleet,
at the sport
Pedro
boats.
fleet.
Yeah.
Nothing makes them more angry than some jackass that drives up their chum line after they've been. So I think everybody can coexist, but there's got to be some etiquette.
My family owns 7 sport boats, so I kind of have a clue.
Yeah.
You know, what it's like. And it's not the private boater's fault. It's that no one ever spent the time. Well, no one ever spent the time to educate them. And if you just went out and bought a boat and then you don't really know where to go, the very first thing you do, and most people do this, the very first thing you do when you leave the harbor is you start to look around for the sport boats.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody does. I don't care. I see a lot of old timers doing it on their own private boats. They're like, where's all the boats? And like I always say, all the boats are looking for us. That's where they all are.
Yeah.
And people go, where is everybody? I go, they're all looking for me right now. They want to follow us. You got to learn when you're out fishing, don't fish for boats. That's the biggest thing. I talk about it on Pete's show every Sunday when I talk. You got to quit fishing for boats and start fishing for fish. And I'm going to put this out right now because my business now is strictly, I don't go with you on your boat anymore. I'm going out. I'm just doing all this website stuff, but I need somebody. I need a captain out there that's willing to go with you on your boat and teach you how to fish. The business is already set up. A couple thousand people are just begging for you to go with them on their boat. They want somebody.
You're trying to get an employee now?
Yeah.
Alex, what are you doing?
There's a lot.
How about if he drops Alex's 14
Yeah, but you got to have knowledge.
Can he drop out of school and do it?
You got to have knowledge.
Oh, he's
you got to have.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
But you got to have knowledge. You got to be able, and you got to have people skills, and you got to look presentable and all those things that it takes. But listen, all these people are begging. They all want to learn. And the boat sales since COVID, boat sales have gone skyrocketed. They have skyrocketed, and there's so many people out there that are just dying to learn. And here's something that I don't understand. And there's all these guys that have been in the business for a week, 10 days, 2 months, 5 years, 12 years, 10 years. And they're on Instagram and they're condemning you for going on a website like my website or Billy's website and actually trying to learn to become a better fisher person. Okay? And then there's guys on the internet that will condemn you and tell you, you got to go out there and figure it out on your own. That is the lamest thing I've every time I read that, it shows me the unintelligence of that person that just wrote that. Because look, here's what I think. If I'm going to get on the plane tomorrow and fly to Cabo, I do not want that pilot to try to figure it out while we're going.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't. And when I'm going to take my friends fishing, like if you called me, and you and Steve and Alex called me up tomorrow and said, hey, Dave, let's go fishing Monday. I would call everybody I know and grab as much information as I could possibly put together. And then I would look at terrafin and I would look at chlorophyll and then I would look at the conditions of the wind and everything else at Catalina. And I would put together the best trip possible for my client or for you guys, because I believe if you're going with me on my boat, you're expecting to have a good day out on the water.
Or at least have a good chance.
So why not grab as much information? And for people to tell you that you're not intelligent because you're gathering information, that's ridiculous. Every captain, I don't care who you are. Tom Durr doesn't go out there and wing it on his own. He has somebody letting him know what it looked like yesterday out on the water. Every captain that's fishing every day
absolutely
is talking to all their friends and getting a better game plan every night before they go to bed. So why wouldn't you want to be into that inner circle and connected to a website? Like, you can go to any website. I don't care. You can go to Billy K's. You can go to Let's Talk, or 976. You can go to Bloody Decks, Fish Dope. Or you can go to YourSaltwaterGuide.com. But you got to have information when you're going out on the water. And to tell people, well, you're blowing it because you're getting information. I do it.
Well, that was the whole thing with 976 tuna. I used to tell people what is the most important thing you can have in your tackle box? Intel, information.
Correct.
Where to fish, where to go, what to do, what lure to use, blah 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 blah. That's the important thing.
It's important. And I'll tell you a story. In 1987, 88, I was running the Seahorse out of Dana Moore Sport Fishing, and we were going to go fish San Clemente Island, but we got like to the east end of Catalina, and it was like poop house. It was so rough. It was just gnarly, and we couldn't make it. And back in those days, you didn't fish Catalina. If you couldn't get to Clemente, you just would turn around and go home. No one went to Catalina. When it's blowing 100, you know the conditions are going to suck there. So you're like, this is going to suck. So I turned the boat around, and we started heading back to Dana Point. I hadn't woke anybody up and told them the trip was canceled. Then I remembered we had these sat phone. These things were just giant blocks that you could call. And I called. I didn't know. I knew there was a barracuda bite down in Imperial Beach, but I didn't know. I never fished down in. I was out of Dana Point.
Yeah.
I called 976, and I listened to the voice.
Ta-da.
Tell exactly.
That's
and
hilarious.
back then we had Loran C, so you didn't have a GPS. But Philip gave the numbers, told the depth on the Loran, and told what depth those barracuda were in, because I knew if I went down there, I was going to be there before the fleet got there, because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got the information from Philip.
That's freaking crazy.
I'm telling you, and I'm a professional captain, but I didn't have that intel, so I called 976, and thank God it was there. And we went down there, and I saved the trip, and we didn't have to refund the money, and everybody caught fish. And
you were happy, and it was another $2 sale for me.
Exactly.
Everybody's happy.
And just so you guys know, 976, all you new people on the planet here, back in the day, 976 was a phone number. There was thousands of 976 numbers. Some of us remember there was some. Some that girls would talk to you.
Yeah, that's what the vast majority.
And Philip decided that he would make it a fishing one.
Yeah,
and he would. The key to the whole thing was to keep you on the phone as long as you could. So Philip would have like a 1-minute segment where he would just talk about what he was about to talk about. So he hung us on the phone for a little. That way because you got paid by the minute, right?
No, you got paid by the call.
Oh, so just by the call?
The guy listened for 1 second and said,
God,
I wanted to hear Susie Q. What's this?
Oh, okay.
Blue perch bite at Rocky Point, and hung up. I still got the $2 or whatever it was.
All right, but that's how 976 started.
But the way you get if you want to talk about a little marketing, the way you could do that would be to say, "Oh my God, the albacore! It looks like it's ready to bust wide open. Make sure you call back at 12 noon, and then call back at 12:15
for the
afternoon
report."
And the 12:30 update's going to be, and then every
for the
time.
afternoon report.
But every time we had more news.
No,
I didn't do that unless I had something lined up where we were going to be able to break some news,
to have something to talk about. Yeah. And then I remember, we're going to go back to the beginning, but we're jumping all around. Then here's where it really gets absolutely hilarious for me, doing this for so long.
Yeah.
I remember when I had the Liquid Coast Highway, plus I was running the freelance relief.
Liquid Coast Highway.
And then I was running the relief for Donnie, and I was running the California Dawn, and I was jumping from boat to boat.
Yeah.
But I was always calling you, and I was always giving the reports. And the captains used to call me, and I don't want to offend anybody. This is what my nickname was, okay? And I'm sorry, but they used to call me Captain Brag and Fag.
Very nice.
Okay, I've
been called worse.
And now you look at it now, and I used to call you 3 times a day. I would call in the morning. And tell what I was doing. Because I understood the marketing, and I understood if you want, and there wasn't anywhere else for people to listen to us. So I would call in the morning, tell you what I was going to do today. Then I would call at noon and tell you how it went. And then I'd call at 4:30 on the way home and tell you what we caught.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would do that every day, and people would go, "Oh, that Dave Anthony's such a sellout. Look at him."
I remember. Yeah, you were getting heat for
that.
My
God.
Yeah.
Now, all those people that were whining and
are calling 24 hours
they're all
a day
calling it all day long now, and they're like, but
it's a free marketing tool.
Well, no,
Why not? As long as the information you're providing
it's
is
so
straight.
funny how it switched and how now I was cutting edge back in the 90s and I was doing it before it was cool. And now it's like cool to do that.
Right.
And it's like, well, how did that change? What changed? Nothing changed. Just mentality, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But I'm still the worst person in the industry, you know. I'm still that guy.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Hey, I want to change the subject for a moment.
Yeah.
Are you living in Mexico now?
Yeah.
Oh, what a big smile on your face. Why do you have a big smile?
October 28th, 2019, October 28th, I changed residence. Kelly and I, my wife, we got rid of everything we own, and we moved to Cabo San Lucas, and I have a phenomenal boss. He's the nicest human being I've ever met. He's like super kind. And I work for a guy named Fletcher Jones. He owns a couple car dealerships in the United States. Yeah. And so I run his 65-foot Viking down there.
Nice.
And we moved to Cabo right before all holy heck broke loose up here in the United States of America. We live down in Cabo San Lucas. I've been down there, like I said, since October 2019. And it's the best thing I've ever done for me and my wife. We're actually having a great time living in Cabo, picking up on the culture down there. People are super kind. Everybody wants to help you. There's not the violence and everything that you think. There's not the stuff going on that goes on up here. None of that stuff that went on up here in Long Beach and in Seattle and Portland and Chicago and all that. That would have never been allowed to happen down there. There's a bunch of people down there that would control that really quick, and there wouldn't be any of that. It's not going to happen, gang. You can go down there and give it a shot. Come on down. Give it a shot. Let me know how it works out for you, because there are some people there that are going to make sure that no one comes down there and does any stupid stuff. And there's not going to be any looting, and there's not going to be any burning of buildings, and there's not going to be any spray painting of buildings. I mean, that's what's going on up here. It's mind-boggling to watch. Mm-hmm. These people destroy the beautiful United States of America. And I look from down there in Cabo, and I just go, thank God for the cartel, because they would never allow that to happen. They wouldn't.
You're one of the only people I've ever heard stand up for the cartel. And
they sure make it safe for me down there, I'll tell you.
Well, you know, the Mexican people are just, for me, the nicest people on the face of the earth. Humble, as you said, ready to help you out. I lived in Mexico for a while. Hey, my son has a new gardener that came up, and I said, yeah, you know, ¿de dónde eres? Where are you from? And it turns out the guy's from Guerrero, and he's from a little town, Ometepec, and I lived right near there. And so I lived with a tribe of Amusco Indians.
Did you really?
In a place called Tlaxcalchihuaca. And he knew. I couldn't believe it. So I even got to say Shamalo, which is hello, goodbye in Amusco. And it was great. So
and
the Mexican
he probably
people
loved that you had the language, the lingo, the slang.
So that's a long time ago I was there too.
Wow.
But the Mexican people are wonderful. They're great people. And I love traveling to Mexico. And God, you can't believe how many people, mostly friends of my kids, like Patrick or Philip, will say, you want to go to Mexico? We're going to Mexico. Oh, my parents say that we'll be decapitated.
Right.
So every once in a while, one of those kids will come, and they're like sitting there going,
when's the bad stuff going to happen?
This is the exact opposite of what everybody said it was going to be. And everybody who says don't go, they've never been there.
Right. But they watch TV show.
I guess.
They watch Narcos or something.
I guess. You can find trouble in Mexico.
Absolutely.
But you sure as hell can find it here in San Pedro or Chicago or New York or Seattle.
We're in San Pedro right now. Let's go block and a half away from 22nd Street and cruise around.
Yeah, so
We're gonna find trouble.
You can. How's fishing in Cabo right now?
Fishing's
let's get a little fishing into this.
Fishing is it's good for certain stuff. There's some tuna, some smaller grade tuna on the Dolphin outside. There was some
good marlin fishing.
Oh, there's still really good marlin fishing. It's like 50, 60 miles up the coast on the Pacific side. What happens this time of year is the wind blows really hard in the Sea of Cortez, and so we have a big, giant cold water moving coming around the corner right now. It's the colder waters kind of like from Palmilla on up the Sea of Cortez, and it's real green. It's like a pea soup green color.
Yeah.
And that's just a flushing of the water, because we had 85-degree water for like 4 months down there. We had the largest marlin tournament in the world, the Bisbees, the biggest money jackpot tournament in the world. brings some of the greatest marlin fishermen in the world to Cabo San Lucas. The tournament this year had second most boats ever in the tournament, and during COVID, and nobody caught a qualifying fish.
Oh my God!
They had to give back $4.7 million.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
then probably kept that down a little bit. Huh?
Yeah, well, there wasn't a qualifying fish.
You
caught.
mean Sean Morgan didn't win? He told me he had it in the bag.
Yeah, neither did Steve Lasley or any of those superstars of the marlin industry.
Sometimes
they were there.
Yeah.
They were all there, poised and ready.
Wow.
But that no one found that 300-pounder. The fish has to be 300 pounds to qualify for the tournament. You can't bring in a short. There were some short fish weighed, but yeah, no one caught a qualifying fish. But here, I got a really funny story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched. Steve saw it. I don't know if Al saw it, but there was a tournament. After all the tournaments were over in November, there's a tournament called Pesca de Turne, which is run by the locals, for the locals, and you can fish it. It's entry fee to get in total across the board, $1,200 per boat. We got in across the board. There was 167 boats in the tournament.
Wow.
During COVID. 167 boats in the tournament because Cabo's open. Cabo's been open since June 15th. It's bizarre. You can eat inside the restaurant. Inside of it, you can sit at a table like this inside of a clean building and eat food off a plate, off of a solid plate with real silverware. It is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. It's like you come up here and you're like scared to death. You have to eat out of a styrofoam box in a filthy, dirty parking lot. I have an 8th grade education, and that doesn't make sense to me. I live in a third world country where a third of the population doesn't have running water, and we're eating inside the building off of a real plate with real silverware that they actually wash in a sink.
Amazing.
Can you imagine? Here's what I was thinking.
Now, Dave, you're going to get
Can you
political
imagine
here.
No, never. Yeah. I'm not right.
You'll
left.
lose 50% of your audience.
Never do that.
Yeah.
I'm down the middle, man. I really don't care. I'm just going to tell you. Can you imagine the amount of trash we've created during this pandemic? The plastic. Remember, we were all against plastic before this started. I've been up here for 4 days, and I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's weird, but I do. And every meal comes in a styrofoam container. The silverware is in a plastic bag, and then it's plastic silverware. Every meal, and that's just me. Something's wrong, folks. This doesn't make any sense. We're not doing anything good. We're not helping anything. We're creating a phenomenal amount of plastic all of a sudden now. All of a sudden, plastic's good. How'd that happen?
I don't know.
Plastic was horrible. Remember?
It'll be bad again pretty soon.
Oh, okay. All right.
I read this morning where I read a thing where 20 cups of coffee will keep you from getting Alzheimer's and blah, blah, blah. And then this morning, you shouldn't drink more than 1 cup. So this stuff goes back and forth.
Well, that's because you forgot.
Yeah, exactly. I think I do have it. I'm older than you. So
yes, you are. You are an old man.
So, all right, Cabo, life is going on normally. You love it down there. How do you stay sober hanging around Sean Morgan? Do you hang out with him? I don't
hang out with Sean. I love Sean.
I love him too.
Sean runs.
He ran boats up here for many, many years. Many of you know him. He's a phenomenal fisherman. He's a great friend and a lot of fun. But he does like to tilt him back once in a while.
I'm not here to judge anybody.
Oh, I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
But Sean was in between jobs, and I brought Sean onto the Wild and Sack, the boat I used to run for 9 years out of Dana Point. And Sean came over there, and he was helping us out over there. And then this job opportunity came up for me, and Sean is running my old boat.
Oh, really?
He runs the Wild and Sack, and I run the Mercedes
Very
out
cool.
of Cabo, and everything's good, and we're super cool. And I tried to help him as much as I could during the transfer of power from one boat to another. And Sean's my buddy, and we hang out, eat meals together and stuff. But then by 7:30, I'm ready to go to bed, and I go to bed, and that's how I live my life. And There's not enough alcohol in Cabo for me to start drinking.
Yeah, me either.
There's just not. And I already know what happens.
Yeah, me too. Well, I know the end of the story.
I play the tape all the way to the end, and it's not pretty.
An alcoholic is anyone whose life gets better when they stop drinking. I saw that the other day, and that's kind of true, too, in a way.
And there's no problem out there.
Right.
There is no problem out there that a drink can't make worse.
Yeah, you got it.
You could have a giant problem and drink. It'll be way worse. I promise. Just check it out.
No kidding. Do you do any surf fishing down there? And
all the time.
Yeah, there's a guy named Wesley
Wes.
Bro, right? Yeah. And he's a great guy. Yeah, he does. Man.
He's got it figured out.
He's freaking catching like yellows and giant rooster fish and all kinds of fish down there. Yeah.
Just big robalos.
There's something, I mean, I love surf fishing here. But, man, I just like when you're walking the beach in Cabo or East Cape or even, you know, the northern Baja area, San Quintin, down there in Ensenada and Estero Bay, something magical about getting on that other side of the border and walking the beach.
Yeah. And you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. You're walking and you just don't know. It could be a perch. It could be a yellowtail. It could be a rooster fish. It could be a marlin. A lot of Dorado this year were caught on the beach down there. I mean, really, surf fishing for Dorado, think about it. And then there's guys that fly the kite, you know. Fly the kite, get your bait off the beach, fly the kite out there when the wind's blowing offshore and use the kite, get your bait out there.
Does anybody ever hook a marlin doing that?
All the time.
Probably, right?
Marlin off the beach, lots of Dorado off the beach.
Insane.
Flying the kite down there is like the thing.
That's insane.
I got some of my deckhands that fly the kite off the back of their truck. They'll drive down the beach and get that kite way out there, sitting in the back of their truck. Then they'll set the rod in the rod holder and put the tent up or the umbrella up and the lawn chairs and barbecue and just wait for that rod to get bit while the bait's out there skipping on the kite.
That is
pretty
ridiculous.
Pretty bitchin', huh?
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's just so much to do down there. It's just, and it's safe.
Did you ever think you would live in another country?
I had no idea.
Like, I mean, as a young man growing up or later on, did you think, oh, I'm going to not live in the United States? Because to some people, that blows their mind. Like, you know, it's just, it's that misinformation. I listened to somebody on, I don't want to say what news because people will think, who said she lived in China. And I was in China listening to this. And she said, well, you know, living in China. Now, I'm not talking about the government or the people that are wonderful, but I'm talking about living in China. It's really dangerous. You got to be really. I was like, what the hell?
What are you talking about?
China was the safest place I have ever. You can walk anywhere and there is no sign of danger. In fact, a Marine gave me one of these knives that you can cut yourself out of a car with. And when I got there, so my first day I was going to go out and walk around in China. And I go, hey, to my co-teacher, Shelly, I just met her. I go, I got this knife, so I'm going to bring this with me. And she's like, you go to jail with that. Don't do that. And I go, is it safe out there? And she goes, yeah, it's totally safe. And I go, you sure? Because I had no idea. I'd listened to, you know.
Right.
Oh, my God. It's just there's no sign of danger. There's none. And you could walk around.
Is insane.
And same thing with Mexico and other areas. So did you ever think you would relocate to another country?
Well, I been going down to Cabo for a long time, back when there was no marina there, dirt roads and stuff. And I used to see my buddies that lived down there for 5 or 6 months a year, running yachts down there and doing that whole thing. And I was in the sport boat industry, and then it was like something that I didn't think was obtainable. I just didn't understand the transfer from the sport boat industry over to the yacht industry and how, because that was something that I thought was unattainable. I didn't understand the whole thing. I mean, I've been in the yacht world now for 20 plus years, but I didn't understand how the whole thing worked. And when you're on a sport boat, that's your whole world. That's what we know. That's what we thought. But then I'd go down for vacation and fish with my buddies in Cabo, and I'd go, wow, this would be cool if I could pull this off. But I didn't know how I could ever obtain something like that.
Yeah.
But it was always in the back of my mind. I thought, because when I was down there, I was like, so relaxed and everything was so cool. And I love to fish and I love to dive and I love to be in the water and I love to just be on the beach. It's just the best when you hear the waves rolling and you're just down there and you're part of the whole nature thing. It's like driving the boat. There's nothing better than being a captain. I mean, it was since I was a little baby when my mom used to write down in the book, what do you want to be when you grow up? I always wanted to be a captain. My dad was a captain. I used to get to go fishing with him when I was little. And that's all I ever wanted to do. And now I live in a place where I'm on the water all the time, and I can see the beach from my house.
Wow.
I have a beautiful 3-bedroom house. Kelly, my wife, and I, we have a beautiful 3-bedroom house in Cabo San Lucas that we have a view of the bay. We look at the bay from our bedroom.
Wow.
3-bedroom, standalone house connected to nothing. We have a backyard, a front yard, just like a regular house in America.
I bet it's a little cheaper.
$1,300 a month, ladies and gentlemen, fully furnished.
It's crazy.
So here's what we did when you ask.
You don't get all the benefits, though, of living in a state like California.
No. I don't get to give them a third of my income. Yeah. Damn. I really missed that part. Giving Gavin and his friends a third of my income for helping me out so much. But when this job came available, this is how I am. I'm an addict, so whatever I do at full speed.
Yeah,
I don't mess around.
Me too.
I came home and I told Kelly, I go, hey, we're moving to Cabo. And she was like, what? Because she'd never been, she only been to Cabo once when I was running this other guy's yacht, and we stayed at the Palmilla. She flew on the jet down, got out of the jet, went to the Palmilla, stayed at the Palmilla for a week, got back on the jet, flew home. So that's what she thought Cabo was. Mexico was, Palmilla's pretty bitchin' place. And she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, honey, we're moving to Cabo. I took the job already. Sorry, hon. I took the job. We're moving to Cabo. I said, here's what you're going to do. I'm such a bad person. I go, honey, here's what you got to do. I go, look at all the stuff you got. We got this 19. I have nothing. So I have a 1986 Toyota 4Runner, and I have a 2002 Mercedes. All right. 4-door. So it's got some room in it to pack some stuff. I go, here's what you're going to do. Look around. I'm going to go down and work October, November, and then I'll be back up at the end of December, and we're going to move everything that's left to Cabo.
You're going to drive down?
Yeah.
That's a bitch.
We are done here, honey. We're done. She's like, what? I said, yeah, pick out the clothes you really love, and the rest, I'm not.
We'll get in Cabo.
And she goes, no. She goes, we're going to get a storage unit, right? I said, no, not. I'm giving everything away. I wasn't going to go on eBay and do all that crap and try to sell it. I'm not there, and I'm not going to have strangers come to my house where my wife is. And so I'm like, I'm giving everything away, beds, TVs, everything we own. And imagine, think about this. You're 59 years old. Look around at all the stuff you have. Just while you're listening to this, think about everything you own and everything you have. You get to put it in a Mercedes and a Toyota 4Runner. That's it. That's all we're taking. Yeah, everything else, I'm giving away. I gave away.
I'm sure that pointed out to you what's really important in life, too,
I
right?
gave away my refrigerator, my washer, dryer, couches. I mean, we had a very nice house. Yeah. It was very well decorated and everything. I know I'm a bad person, honey, and I love you, and I commend you all the time.
Something sentimental?
Oh, no. My stuff I gave away, and she could
do what she wanted to do.
She could do whatever she wants. If it fits in the 2 cars, you can take it. If it doesn't fit in the cars,
you're screwed.
Because we're leaving. January 19th is when we drove down here. So we had 3 weeks to get everything organized. And I was like, you can't jam it in the 2 cars, you're going to leave it in the trash. Because we are not.
We're out of here.
So she was running around putting stuff at this person's house and that person, because I told her no storage. So she's got clothes over here and some clothes over there. But I got rid of everything, gang, and I moved to Cabo San Lucas. I was fully in 100%, and I moved, and I left the life up here, and I'm down there.
And you're totally happy.
Yeah, and we have a bank account now where we're actually saving money. Because up here, I worked 19 hours a day, 7 days a week. I made a good amount of money, but I didn't have any at the end of the day.
Right.
Just there wasn't any extra. There was no extra. Everything costs so much up here, and it's so crazy. So, yeah, we jumped in full speed and moved, and it's for once in Captain Dave's life, he made a good decision.
Hey, congratulations, man.
And it's cool, and I love it living down there. I feel so comfortable, and I sleep so good now, and I wake up in the morning, my ear hurts from sleeping so hard on the side of my head, which I never had that problem before. Awesome. There was so much stress involved. But let's go back to the very beginning. Can we do that now that we've jumped all over the place?
Yeah, go.
Because I got a kind of a pretty interesting little story I wanted. So when I was a little boy, my dad is the Don of sport fishing. My dad is Don Hansen. You can Google his name, look him up if you don't know who we are. We've been in the industry for a very, very long time. But I can still sit down and close my eyes and think about the very first day I got to go fishing with my dad.
Really?
I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And my mom had me sitting on the counter in our kitchen, and she was putting on my shoes and telling me we were going to go fishing with my dad. And he was running the Sum Fund back then. This was 1964. He was running the Sum Fund, and he was running double half day. And, you know, 3-year-old's not getting up to go in the morning half day, but we're going to go on the afternoon half day. And I remember going down the pier with my mom, and my dad's office was on the end of the San Clemente Pier.
Yeah.
So we got to drive our car. My mom got to drive the car. Nobody got to drive their car on the pier, but my mom and my dad could. They were the only people that could drive their car.
So you're feeling really special, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm 3 years old.
Oh,
I thought
okay.
everybody drove on the pier.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were all that. And I remember coming down the end of the pier and big eyes because I'm going to get to see my dad, who is my hero. And I'm coming down there and I'm going to get to go fishing with my dad. And there was a restaurant on the end of the pier back then called the Galley. And so first thing we do is get some hot chocolate at the Galley. I mean, this is just all in my mind. I still remember it. And then my dad pulls the Sum Fun into the pier, and it was high tide. So I could see my dad in the wheelhouse. I'm a little baby, a little 3-year-old. I could see him in there. My mom's going, "There's your dad." And my dad's waving to me, and there's 60 people going on the boat. But I'm like the superstar because that's my dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm a 3-year-old, and I'm like, get on the boat with my dad, and he lets me steer the boat, and it was just cool, and that was it. That's when I knew. This is all I ever want to do. I just want to go out on the boat every single day. And every time I had a chance, I went with my dad, and it was so cool to grow up on the San Clemente Pier. I mean, things have changed. Our operations in Dana Point now, it's Dana Moore Sport Fishing.
Yes.
But until 71, we were it on the San Clemente Pier.
Yeah.
And you'd get up in the morning, all the other captains would, and I know it's a pain in the ass now that I know that I'm from where I'm at now, but the captains had to come to my dad's house and pick me up in the morning.
Oh, really?
Before they could go to work, they'd have to come and get me, and then they would take me because I got to go fishing every weekend because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so whoever was running the 3/4 day boat,
That was part of their job description.
yeah, and their day would start at 5 in the morning, but they would start at 5 or 4:45 because they had to swing by the house and pick up the owner's kid, you know, the prince, they used to call me. But it was so cool, and I remember it would be like the worst thing that could possibly happen to me if I woke up in the morning, opened my eyes, and it was light out.
Daylight. And
I knew they
realized
didn't.
you missed
They
the
didn't
boat.
bring me. No, they
Yeah.
didn't get me.
Yeah.
They didn't get me, and I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
And it would ruin my whole day. And the whole day would be, I'm like a 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, and my whole day is ruined because I didn't get to go on the boat. And it was like almost like you lost your favorite pet or something. It was like the worst feeling in the morning. And I can remember those days when I'd wake up and the lights were on, and it would just piss me off so much, and I'd cry. I'd lay in my bed and cry because that's how deep that passion was to go fishing. And when I was a little kid growing up on the boats, life was way different back then. You'd get down to the boat in the morning, and you'd have to climb down this big metal ladder, and they'd put the skiff in the water at the San Clemente Pier.
Uh-huh.
And then we'd all climb onto the skiff, and then there'd be 3 crews. The first crew would go to the Sum Fun, then the next crew would go to the Real Fun, and then I'd be with Bob Lorman or Ray Dwayne or something, and we'd go to the Clemente because that was the 3/4 day boat. And each crew would get put on their boats, and then we'd go to the last boat, climb on the boat, tie the skiff up to the back of the boat, and then the captain would get the boat running, the cook would get the galley going, and then you'd get the bacon cooking and stuff. Then you'd swing into the pier and pick up your passengers on the San Clemente Pier.
That's great.
It was the coolest way to grow up as a kid if you want to think about it. And if you go to my website, Your Saltwater Guide, and look, I have a whole series of legends, like what Phil's doing now. I got a whole series of the old legends, and they talk about all these days and how cool it was growing up there. And when I think back to it, what really blows my mind is how in the hell on that little dinghy or that skiff.
Did you get all those people in there?
No, did they find the boats in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
It's pitch black dark.
Yeah.
Pitch black dark, and it's kind of a little bit of wind, a little waves, and a little action. And, you know, the guys were kind of maybe a little hungover in the morning, a little fuzzy. They got out there every morning. Fog. They knew exactly where to go. There's no compass on the skiff.
Right.
They drive right out to the boat in the pea soup fog and crawl on the boat. Those things blow my mind today as a captain. I just think, how in the heck did they do that?
Yeah, because, I mean, now it's so easy with all the electronics and everything we have. But back in the day, like you're
Durr
talking
was
about,
talking about
right.
how he
had to look through.
He was up in the wheelhouse and he had a little glass hole where he could look down and see the compass.
Right, exactly.
And that's what we grew up doing too. My dad.
How was fishing in those days?
It was absolutely insane.
Was it?
It was insane. I remember when they made us start to put the trap. I won't talk about what we used to do at trap, but when they made us put a plastic bag in the trash can so that you had a trash liner and then you tie that up and throw it in the trash. And this was like when plastic first came out. I mean, this was
You're that old?
This was in the 60s. Well, it might have been out, but I didn't know about it. I think they used it for military use or something.
Yeah.
But we used to be able to take a piece of that, and these trash bags were like a beige-ish. There was no plastics. There was no rubber lures. There was really nothing.
Yeah.
There was a rubber lure called a salty dog.
I remember that.
The thing was rock hard.
Yeah.
It was about that long.
Yeah.
With a little lead head on it.
And it friggin' worked good.
The tail was solid as this table. It didn't wiggle. It didn't do anything. It looked like a tail, but it did not swim. It didn't do anything. You would throw that in the water, and everything would eat it.
Yeah, it was, I mean.
That's how the fishing.
Catch barracuda, sand bass, calico bass.
Yellowtail.
Yeah, everything.
White sea bass.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. But we would take a piece of the trash bag, peel a piece of trash bag off, put it on your hook, and throw it out there, and when it would go through the water,
Dave,
it would do this.
That must have been a thing. I remember doing that.
Right?
Yeah.
And the bass would jump right on. Calico bass. You would look over to the side, and there was calico bass, yellowtail, bonita, barracuda, like an aquarium at the kelp beds. Because I heard your stories, and I heard Leland's stories and Tom's stories and stuff, but I grew up in the South.
Yeah.
In Dana Point, San Clemente.
Right.
Where the kelp bed started at the San Clemente Pier and it went all the way to the Mexican border. And there was like no break in it. And it was just solid kelp everywhere. My father talks about when he was growing up, the kelp bed started in Santa Monica Bay and went all the way to the Mexican border, and Horseshoe was covered in kelp.
Yeah.
And you know what happened to that, right? You know what happened to the horseshoe? Yeah.
Well,
you know
what
happened.
Shipping traffic there.
Well, no.
That's one thing.
What really happened, should I say?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Let's hear it. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's probably going to piss a lot of people off. But if you look on your chart plotter on your boat, any boat, look at your chart plotter. There is an area off of Point Furman called the dumping grounds. And it's a circle made with dotted lines. And it says right on it, dumping grounds. There were no landfills in the 50s. There were no landfills. All garbage was loaded onto barges and brought out into the Pacific Ocean and pushed off with what do you call those big bulldozers?
Yeah, bulldozers.
They would just push the trash into the ocean. The prevailing current from Point Furman goes down the coast. So all the beautiful kelp beds have been covered up with garbage. Okay? You can say it's the shipping lanes. They could say kelp cutters. No, because kelp cutters only cut off the first couple of feet. That's not what did it. Shipping lane, that's not what did it.
Oceanography, because kelp doesn't grow very well in hot water.
It doesn't grow through garbage.
That's true.
It does not grow through the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets real scary. And this is out now on YouTube, and you can look at these videos. There's a couple of chemical companies, DuPont and Dow. Monsanto.
Hey, we're going to get sued now, Steve. They've got a whole rack of attorneys to
okay, well, we won't talk about it.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
This is your opinion.
It's not my opinion. This is real. Okay. You can look at it. It's on YouTube.
There you go.
They had 55-gallon drums of chemicals that they would take out to the dumping ground.
This is like in the, what, 60s?
50s,
50s,
60s. Okay? They would take these barges loaded full of these chemicals in 55-gallon metal drums. Not the plastic drums we have now. These were metal drums like you get your oil in.
Yeah.
55-gallon drums. They would be full to the top with these chemicals. They would push them all into the water at the dumping grounds right there.
Make a nice reef, right, for the fish.
And
and then they start
if
leaking.
they didn't sink, no. You'll see these videos on YouTube. I'm sorry. Dave Hansen, Hansen. Make sure you spell it right.
Right. Phil
They
Friedman,
have pictures.
FRCD479.
They have pictures of the guys on the barge when the drums wouldn't sink. They would shoot them. Boom, 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 till they would get enough holes in them to sink. I'm sorry. I'm not lying. This is all totally real. If you fly in an airplane or a jet and you fly out from LAX and you fly out over the ocean, you'll see as the plane turns and banks and does its turn, you're going to fly out over Catalina, then you're going to fly back in. If you look, Santa Monica Bay, starting up by Point Doom, there's kelp that kind of, little tiny bit of kelp comes down into Malibu area and then it stops. Then there's a little bit of kelp at Heisler's Cove on out around Point Furman and Rocky Point, and that kelp goes down there. It's okay. It's a pretty good kelp bed. It goes down, and then at Point Furman, done. You will not see kelp again until you get to Newport, until you get to the southern part of Newport, to Abalone Point, number 1, number 2. Then here comes the kelp again, and it starts to... Why? Because all this garbage that they dumped, the prevailing current and wind blows itself. Remember when we were kids, Seal Beach was called Tin Can Beach.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, of course.
Where do you think those tin cans came from?
Right.
They didn't just people driving by in the car and throw a beer can out the window. Gang, there were cans stacked taller than this building at Tin Can Beach when I was a kid. Remember?
Yeah.
They had these mountains of cans because the prevailing wind and the prevailing current would blow all that stuff up on the beach at Seal Beach.
Yeah.
That's what happened to the kelp. That's what happened. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. That's what happened to the kelp. And then they dissipate and it would kind of calm down. All the trash would be laying all over the bottom, but then it wouldn't make it down to Newport. But I mean, before that, the horseshoe kelp was a giant kelp bed. Gigantic. Goes all the way out to 100 feet of water like the kelp down in La Jolla and Point Loma. The kelp would go all the way out to 100 feet of water, 105 feet. There was kelp. Not anymore. You don't even see stringers. That's nothing. That's why, this is my theory, but everybody goes, those bluefin come charging up, and then and then they go outside of Catalina and out around the back. When I was a little kid, we used to fish Catalina all the time, and the whole front side of the island was bluefin. Every spot, like Dur was talking about Gallagher's, Frog Rock, K20, Sally's Galley, all those spots on the front side, you could go there, be there at gray light, start a slow one chum line with anchovies.
Yeah, you catch bluefin.
Bluefin would come up you wouldn't catch them very often because you had to fish remember? You had to fish with
light line.
Number 6 or number 8. Number 6 or number 8.
We were catching them up in the Santa Monica Bay.
Oh, I know, and I heard that story when you were talking to Leland.
Yeah.
But, we had those schools in Dana Point, San Onofre, those schools of giant, but they wouldn't eat because they were just chased so much by the purse seiners.
Yeah.
They were like, you'd see them, they look like sheephead because they're all red from the net burns and stuff. You'd see them come up foaming behind the boat. They'd be all red and shit. They'd never eat anything with a hook in it. But Catalina, the whole front side of the island was bluefin all the time. But I think what happened was all that chemical, it's still leaking today. Those cans are still leaking down there. And I think those fish come, and they go, the water has got to be like funk. And they're like, then they go outside. And you see them in the channel between Catalina and Clemente. And you see them all over at Clemente and stuff. But I think that inner water there, and then they don't, then they show up again up above the oil platforms like San Luis Obispo and on up that way.
Yeah.
And they had bluefin up there. But for some reason, that bite right there, where the horseshoe is down to Iser's Reef and then out to Catalina, that channel, I think it's just...
But they do a lot of water tests there and claim that the water is cleaner today than it's ever been.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. It has to be because we're not using the ocean as a trash can anymore. But how do you clean up that damage? You can't. That damage was done.
By the way, speaking of the bluefin tuna, I don't know, you probably know this, but the Mexican purse seine fleet has reached their quota already. We broke that on some news the other day, but that's great that suggests there's a lot of bluefin out there and that that there's not going to be that pressure anymore. So that's good news for everybody up here that fishes bluefin.
One of my good buddies, Adam Cargill, just brought a boat up from Cabo, and he said there was an area 30 mile. He was the only boat for 30 miles, and he never was out of. He's got an Omni sonar on there. He could see everything, and he never was not in tuna for 30 miles straight bluefin. 30 miles.
Did he tell you where?
Yeah, I know exactly where.
Are you going to tell us?
Right where Roy Rose and everybody's fishing.
Okay. Down there near San Martin, kind of. Yeah.
Down below, just a little bit out.
Yeah, that's great, man. And the seiner pressure now is off that.
Well, now the seiner pressure's off because the fish were kind of skittish because they've been getting hammered. Now they're going to get mellowed out. And like I say every year, what you're going to see is now, come March 1st, that's when everybody gets to go rockfish fishing again.
Yeah.
Then you get the coverage, and then you're going to start to see people are going to go, oh, there's fish at the Cortez, there's fish on the Tanner, there's fish behind Clemente, because right now you have no boats going.
Right.
Everybody's doing maintenance or whale watching.
Right.
So you don't have that coverage, and that's always because the rockfish closure. That's why it never really stops. I mean, those bluefin haven't gone anywhere for 5 years or 6 years.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
So the fish don't go anywhere. They're still here because there's so much food out there, and the ocean is super healthy. We were just talking about one little spot, gang. One little spot. That's all we were talking about. We're not talking about the oceans. We're the most regulated fishery in the world, Southern California.
Yeah, and
we're more regulated than anybody.
Like you say, it's been incredible. Let me play a game with you.
Yes.
I'm going to mention a fishery, and you give me a tip for. You can do it, for private boaters, let's say. So I'm going to mention a specific fish, and you give me your best shot. Because there's a lot of guys out there who are going to go to your website, but they just bought a skiff, or even some of these tips I'm sure you can apply to fishing on a sport boat. So let's take Calico Bass.
Calico Bass, my opinion, we should have never changed the size limit because the science had been done. That fish that's 12 inches long has already had a chance to spawn 4 times. That's what they say. I'm just going by science because if our governors taught us anything, you have to go by the science.
Yes,
right?
True.
Eat in the dirty parking lot, not in the clean restaurant. So we're going to go by science here. And when they studied the Calico Bass because when I was a kid, it was 10 inches.
Right.
It was 10 inches. And white sea bass, you could have 2 short. And you could have 2 short barracuda, and you could have 1 short halibut when I was a kid. And then they went from 10 inches to 12 inches because they studied it and they found out that fish spawned 4 times already, and now you can harvest it. If you put your head underwater up or down the coast, there are literally calico bass everywhere. I dive, I snorkel, I do all that stuff. Everywhere is calico. Because we have thriving kelp forests. We have tons of artificial reefs. Everybody's built artificial reefs. All those are great havens for calico bass. It gives them areas to spawn. It gives them areas. So the calico bass fishery is insane. But the problem was when they went and they changed the size limit, that was when we were in a cold water cycle. That was the problem today is nobody has 5 minutes to wait for something to change. If it's not exactly how it was yesterday, it's done. They're all gone. So they took our calico bass. Now forever we were allowed to keep them 12 inches. Now we have to kill the 14-incher. I'm not a rocket scientist, but a 14-inch bass. Do I have a piece of paper? Okay.
Steve's got one.
A 14-inch.
There you go. A
14-inch or 12-inch bass is going to have about this many eggs. A 14-inch bass is going to have about this many eggs. I don't know if you got that.
They got
12-inch bass, 14-inch bass. Throw these back, kill these. Really? That doesn't make any sense to my 8th grade educated mind. Maybe somewhere it does. But
without that, they're going to kill both, right? They're going to kill the 12
No,
and
because
the
we
14.
always threw the 14s back because we knew those were the guys that made it.
Okay, so you're
those of us in the
you're
business,
advocating throwing those 14s back.
Those of us in the business,
yeah,
we always threw the bigger ones back. We did.
A lot of people throw
no,
them
we
all
just
back.
did. Well,
yeah.
they're silly. You're not going to save the world by throwing back illegal fish.
Okay,
you're just not. You cannot adverse or diversely affect the population of fish in the ocean with the fishing pole. Not even you. Not even Steve.
I'm pretty good. I don't know.
You're not that good to actually think that you're so good that you're going to adverse or diversely affect the population
I have
of
lift poled calico bass.
So have I.
But no, I haven't done that.
But you know what? That's just my one man's opinion, and I fought a bunch of people over this and everything. So then you took it and you made us. Now we have to kill the 14 inches.
Well, you don't have to.
No, it says it in the book, and DFG says you have to
You
keep
can still
14.
throw it back.
Well, no, because my people want to eat for something.
All right, well.
Okay.
Okay.
But here's the deal. You have to kill the 14s now.
I mean, I don't think it says
No,
in
I
the
know.
DFW
I'm
guidebook
just-
you have to
I'm
kill the
playing,
14
but
inch.
you got to keep a 14-inch bass and you got to throw a 12-inch bass back. And here's where it gets really, really weird. Do you know what's waiting right underneath the boat when that 12-inch bass hits the water?
A big, hungry sea
The
lion.
most important animal on the planet. This animal has more rights than any human being on the planet. The California sea lion, if I was to come back reincarnated, I would want to be a sea lion. Because, why? Here's the biggest thing that scares me at our age.
Yeah.
Healthcare.
Right.
Healthcare. It's a scary subject, folks. Healthcare is gnarly. You all know you're all paying a phenomenal amount of money for healthcare if you even have it anymore. California sea lion, he gets free healthcare. Always. They're not allowed to die at all. They're not allowed to die. I'm sorry. I get pretty excited because I'm passionate about this.
Yes, you hate sea lions.
No,
obviously.
I love them.
Oh, you do.
I want to be one.
Yes, I understand.
No.
Okay.
The most protected animal on the planet? Dude, they got more rights than a human being. They do. Think about it.
They do, I know.
They're not allowed to die, folks.
And they're allowed to move into your house and no one can kick them out.
They can come on your yacht.
Right.
I can go down to my $4 million yacht tomorrow morning, and if Bobo's sitting on the back deck, guess what? That $4 million yacht becomes Bobo's yacht now.
You know, nobody told the great white sharks and the
There's
orcas that they don't abide by those rules.
Yeah, but there's
They
not
eat those
enough
things
of them.
also. Yeah, I know.
Because the California sea lion, during the 3rd trimester of her pregnancy, can get pregnant while she's pregnant. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So, I'm not lying.
Interesting.
Look it up. It's on the internet. If it's on the internet, it's got to be true. Right. But
Yeah.
during the 3rd trimester of, they're like a rabbit. Okay?
Yeah. Rabbits can do that too?
Well, they can you see multiplication of rabbits. It's a
Well, I know rabbits, but I didn't know you could get pregnant when you're pregnant.
They have 2 uteruses. The sea lions do.
Oh, they do?
That's what I was told.
Okay.
It was that's what I read back when I used to know how to read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was this in Mad Magazine or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But no, the California sea lion is not allowed to die.
Right.
No, they're not allowed. Even if the animal is sicker than hell and he washes up on the beach somewhere and he is, if you believe in God or Allah or Buddha or John Quincy Adams or Henry Ford or whatever you believe in,
Your
the
higher
doorknob,
power.
Whatever. He set nature up to take care of nature. And now we've come in and we've said, you don't know what you're talking about. You do not know. We know better. That sea lion should not die. So we grab them and we take them up to the Friends of the Sea Lions or to SeaWorld or to, I don't know, Tree Hugger Heaven. And we start to take this animal that's dying and he's dying. He's supposed to die. He can't even eat. So you know what we do?
We
feed him
inject him.
intravenously.
Yes.
We feed this wild animal intravenously. And then before we release them back to the world where they are doing what? Starving to death. We feed them, get them all fat. And then what do? We vaccinate them. I'm not lying. We vaccinate a wild animal so that he can't die of the only disease that really kills him, which is called lungworm. They get this lungworm thing, but we vaccinate the sea lion.
They probably get it before people get their COVID-19 thing.
Well, they get it before. They got more rights than anybody.
Right.
So we vaccinate a wild animal, and then we put them back out in the environment where they're starving to death. And the state of California spent right around $21 million last year of taxpayers' money, plus we can't even talk about the special interest money that was gathered up to feed the California, to feed the California sea lion. So then what we've done is we've taken a wild animal And we've taught him that when he sees me or Phil or Steve or Al, we're going to feed him.
Right. And by the way, that's illegal. The Department of Fish and Wildlife, that's illegal to feed. Like when you feed a seagull or something like that, it's actually illegal to do that because it results in exactly the kind of behavior.
I got off on a tangent, but I said all that to bring us back to where we were with having to kill calico bass 14 inches. And we're throwing back 12-inch bass, but the minute they hit the water, Bobo and all of his buddies, all the kelp coyotes, they're all waiting right underneath the boat. They wait right underneath the boat. When the calico bass hits the water, every time you throw a calico bass back, the minute he hits the water, he's stunned for a second because he doesn't really understand what just happened. Because he thought he was 12 inches and he thought he was going to get to go home with you. But now they changed the rules. So now he's going to get thrown back and become food for the sea lion. So the sea lions just wait under there. So what have we accomplished?
I don't
nothing. You asked me a question.
Yeah, I asked you for a calico bass.
Yeah, and I'm giving it to
calico
you.
Bass.
So all we're doing is feeding the sea lions with throwing back 12-inch calico bass. We haven't really solved any problems.
It sounds like it.
Okay, I'm just trying to
You're
help.
not a big sea lion fan, obviously.
No, I want to be one. Yeah. More than anything, I wish I was a sea lion. Could you imagine? In Cabo, I know, and the sea lion is called a California sea lion, right?
Yes.
They live in Mexico and they live in Alaska. What happened?
I don't know.
There's too many.
Yeah.
So anyone that's not in California, that is a homeless sea lion.
Do they treat sea lions the same in Mexico as
Absolutely. They're so protected. Tourists love Mexican.
Yeah, they do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They got this one down there called Poncho.
I know.
When you come
I've seen that one.
Poncho comes on the boat and people hug him and stuff. A sea lion's bite is 10 times stronger than a pit bull.
Jeez.
So why would you put your arms around him? Oh. Why would you even get near him?
There's one down here by the Pursuit. Were you there the other day when we were? Oh, no, it was a couple other guys saying we were it's giant. And I had Philip go over there, and it almost got him. It was funnier than hell.
And if he gets him, you're done.
I know.
You're not getting away.
I told him, if that thing gets you, son, I definitely have to get video of it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
if he's gonna,
that'd be good on the podcast.
If something bad's going to happen to him, we might as well put it on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's my... I'm sorry.
Well, no,
we got off on all kinds of stuff. And
I like it.
I do like 50 seminars a year, and someone will ask a question, and off I go to the races. And
that's why we love you.
I forget what the hell we were talking about.
That's all right. I'm going to give you another fish in a minute.
We were talking about calico bass.
I want to say one thing, though, because, and let's not mention any names. I don't even know if you're going to remember this, okay? But I was at the Fred Hall show, and I was giving a presentation. I don't remember the order, whether the other guy went or I went first. But I went up there. Let's not mention any names.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
I don't know.
Okay.
And that's not enough information for me
all right,
to remember.
I'm getting there. I went up, and my thing was to talk about fishing Mexico, since we're talking about Mexico. So my whole thing was, you have to respect the Mexicans. They're our brothers and sisters to the south. You respect their laws. You respect their... Now, I can't remember if the other guy...
Said it first
or after, but he said, F Mexico, F blah, 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 blah.
God.
And so, and like, I'm standing there, and, you know, you're kind of like, you like to catch fish, and so I wasn't sure what... You raised your hand, and you stood up and said, what that other guy said makes me want to throw up.
Absolutely.
Let's not mention any names.
Yeah.
But, I mean... you know what? I really appreciated that, is what I want to tell you.
Because it's honest, though, Phil. It's not our right to fish in Mexico. We don't allow those boats from Ensenada and stuff to come up and fish in California. We don't.
Right.
And for us to go down there and act like the ugly American, it is a privilege to fish in Mexico.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
And it's a privilege that we do not want to lose. And I get...
Dave, yeah, just reverse it for a second. There's 3 boats from Mexico, La Jolla, whaling on the yellowtail. There'd be some people up here really angry about that.
Super pissed.
Yet that plays out every day the other way around. You're right.
And when the coalition of the little charter operations up and down from San Quintin to Ensenada, when they all stood up for themselves, so many people up here were like, oh, that's bullshit. No. It's their country. If we get to fish down there, that's a privilege. It's not a right, and you have to respect it. And if they close areas, hey, my dad and and Ken Frankie and Bob Fletcher and those guys, they fight that fight for us to allow us to have the opportunity to fish down there. So when we do get the opportunity to fish down there, respect them.
Right.
Respect the limits 2, the limits 5, respect the limits and respect the closed areas, like the biospheres areas. Right. Get your permits, do everything legal, because like Phil usually said, if they came up here, we'd all be pissed.
Yeah, exactly.
Pissed. But man, we think we should be able to go into Ensenada and fish in there anytime we want. What? Why?
Yeah, exactly.
What's that mentality? Where did that go?
I got you.
Right?
Let me give you another fish.
Yeah, go.
Give me a tip to catch this fish. I hope it doesn't involve sea lions this time. I'm just kidding.
All of it does nowadays.
Yeah.
Everything involves sea lions.
Well, I got 2 questions, but let me ask the first one. Bluefin tuna.
All right.
Give me what's an essential, you take people out that have no clue how to catch a bluefin tuna. What do you have to teach them about catching bluefin tuna? Is the kite absolutely essential? Is having good bait or having the right bait, like G. Paul and these guys have those flying fish?
Oh yeah.
What's really, and if you have 3 or 4 tips, that's good.
Okay, so I was able to. This goes back to information. I was able to be in that beginning of that thing that happened in Southern California in 2015 when everybody went from fishing, sliding on breezers or sliding on foamers and throwing bait, maybe hooking one on the fly line. I was on the inner circle of the guys that had the kite thing figured out. And I know you guys were doing it for a long time, but the 4 or 5 of us on the yachts, we thought we were cutting edge. We know we don't know anything, and we're just lucky that we get to live on your guys' planet. But we kind of figured out the whole bluefin rubber flying fish kite thing before anybody else got in on it. The first year, 2015, we had 29 fish over 100 pounds on the Wild and Sack, which was phenomenal.
Yeah, hell
for people that have never fished
what year was
before
this?
In their life. 2015.
Wow.
For people that had never fished before, because I don't have the opportunity like most of you have to have like your regulars or run the boat that you run every single day and look at your electronics every single day and fish with your gear. My deal is I go on a different boat every single day. Not now, but before I was on a different boat every single day.
Right, right.
In 2008, 2009, thanks to you and Bloody Decks, I was on 128 different boats that season.
That's great.
But what I found is that most people, they don't have a clue. And you can't say, oh, the dummy doesn't know what he's doing. No, he's not a dummy. You can't be a dummy and own a yacht. But the kite was the thing, because then you didn't have to finesse fish them. You could fish them with rope. And we never took the rod out of the rod holder. We had a 130 and we left it in the rod holder.
There's no sliding on a breezer the right way or any of that.
No, because my people can't cast.
Right.
So what the hell?
Right.
And I know people watch my YouTube videos and stuff and go, oh, look at Hansen's driving right into the foamer. Well, my guys can only go and drop the bait in the water. They're not going to chuck the iron in the middle of a foamer because they've never touched a
100
pole
yards
before.
Right.
You pull the line out, drop the bait in the water, and you hope they come up in the prop wash behind the boat because that's the only chance we got. Then when the kite thing happened, it was like, oh, shit, we can do this. We have 40 pounds of drag. We have a 130 with 200-pound braid.
Yeah.
And 400-pound leader. And you just winch them in. And like
Alex, you could even catch one on that gear.
Like I used to tell everybody, no one cares about your story, how you fought it for 3 hours. They want to see the picture of you holding it up by the tail. And then they're on to the next bright and shiny thing. Let's be honest. We don't have 5 minutes to wait for anybody to tell a story.
Right.
That's why 90% of the YouTube videos are 5 to 6 minutes long.
We better cut this off, Steve.
No one, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
They're all looking for the next bright and shiny object.
Yeah.
I hate bluefin.
Do you hate sea lions more or bluefin?
No, I love sea lions. I want to be a sea lion.
Yes, go ahead.
Sea lions are like the coolest animal on the planet. Jeez Louise, they got it made, man.
You hate bluefin.
Bluefin suck. And all of you captains that are watching it, you know what I'm talking about. How many times have you been in the gyros and you see a spot of bluefin 4 miles away and you drive and you drive and you drive and you drive and everybody's ready and they got their irons and they got everything and they're all ready and this foamer's been up for an hour. Took you 40 minutes to get to it because you had to go so far and you're doing 8 knots and you finally get there.
And it sinks out.
Right when you get there. Or it stays up. And they don't eat shit. Oh, and they don't eat anything.
Yes,
okay?
watch your cussing.
I didn't mean to.
No more cussing on this show.
Didn't mean
I
to
never
do that.
thought you'd be the guy to get me to stop cussing on the show, but it's Dave Hansen.
I said a bad word. And then all the kids in the audience.
Steve will bleep it out.
If you ever go to my seminars, I pride myself on not saying any bad words, and I tell everybody, all the children, because children are invited to come to my seminars.
Yes.
I know it's hard to believe, but they are.
Yeah. No, that might be some kind of child abuse to take a kid to
but I
one
tell
of your
them,
seminars.
Listen, guys, if Captain Dave says a bad word, you all get free stuff. And companies like Steve's Promar and Costa Del Mar and Okuma and Fishworks and
I'm going to do that
so
same
many
thing
companies.
and load the audience up with kids and make them give me the stuff afterwards.
So many companies give me so much cool stuff to give away at my seminars.
Yeah.
So I get the kids engaged by telling them if I say a bad word, you get free stuff.
That's great.
That's how I've learned to not. My father is blown away every time he sees me speak. He's like, how did you do that?
What, no bad words?
No bad words.
I know.
I have no filter. I have one right here. I'm trying.
No. We don't want it.
But
keep going.
Okay, so that bluefin thing for us, the kite thing was really good. What I see most people's biggest mistake is they buy a bunch of stuff, but they can't cast. They got a bunch of lures. So that's when flat fall became so good. And now everybody can catch one because they all have a flat fall. And flat fall, you don't have to do anything. You just drop it. When it stops, you turn the handle, you got one.
Like rock cod
because you're not going to hit the bottom. You're fishing in 3,000 feet of water. You let it drop. I mean, the greatest lure ever made. It's dummy proof. I mean, wish I would have thought of that, man.
Yeah,
just
right.
Drop it over the side, and when it stops, wind it up because you got one. Well, what happens if it doesn't stop? Just keep letting it out till you run out of line, then wind it back up and start over. And that takes that guy out of the mix. You don't have to worry about him because he just dropped 3,000 feet of line down, and now he's going to wind it back up. So you don't have to worry about him. You can focus on the other people for a minute.
He'll be trolling in just a few minutes when the guy's running on another school.
But that bluefin is such a gnarly fishery, and we've been blessed for the last 5 years that fish has been in our bite, and it's been trying to go home on all the boats. It always wants to go. Now, for some reason, for the last 5 years, the stuff wants to go to your house and have dinner with you.
It does.
It used to never want to go to your house.
I remember those days. Remember in San Diego when you fished albacore and, somebody would, I remember as a kid going, oh my God, what? And I'd point out and there'd be a foamer up. And I'm going, Captain. And he'd go, it's bluefin. Right? You remember that?
Yeah.
They're not going to eat. It's useless.
I was driving the boat. It's like people are losing their minds. We're like on a wide open albacore stop, and they're like, there's a foamer. You're hooked up. What do you want me to do? Drive over there so you can't be hooked up? I mean, give me some time. I'll find something that won't bite. I promise. I've seen me do it before.